The fluorescent lights of Emma's cafe hummed their familiar evening song as Emma Chen wiped down the last table near the window. Outside, Riverside Falls had settled into its typical Tuesday night quietness, the kind of stillness that made every sound feel amplified. Street lamps cast orange pools of light onto the cracked sidewalks of Morrison Street, illuminating the occasional pedestrian hurrying home, with their collar turned up against the October chill. Emma glanced at the old clock above the espresso machine. 9:47 p.m. She was running later than usual, but that wasn't surprising. Mrs. Patterson had stayed until closing, nursing her decaf coffee and talking about her grandson's college applications for nearly an hour. Emma didn't mind. At 25, she'd learned that running a small cafe wasn't just about serving coffee. It was about providing a space where people felt heard. Finally, she murmured to herself, untying her cream-colored apron embroidered with the cafe's logo. A simple coffee cup with steam rising in the shape of a heart. Her mother had designed it 3 years ago, back when they'd first opened this place together. Before the accident. Before everything changed. Emma shook her head, refusing to let those thoughts creep in tonight. She had closing duties to finish. Taking out the trash, prepping the coffee machines for tomorrow, counting the register. The familiar routine usually brought her comfort. A sense of control in a life that had felt chaotic ever since she'd found herself running this business alone. She moved behind the counter, her sneakers squeaking slightly on the checkered tile floor. The cafe was small, just 12 tables, a counter with 6 stools, and barely enough space in the kitchen for one person to work comfortably. But it was hers. Every chipped mug, every scratch on the wooden tables, every photo of regular customers on the wall of coffee lovers. It all told a story of the community she'd built here. Emma pulled her long, dark hair into a ponytail and grabbed the trash bag from under the sink. The back alley wasn't her favorite place, especially this late at night, but it was part of the job. She'd made this same trip hundreds of times over the past 3 years. Nothing ever happened on Morrison Street. This was a working-class neighborhood where people knew each other, where Mr. Kowalski still ran his hardware store after 40 years, where the Gonzalez family's bakery had been operating since the 1970s. Safe, predictable, boring, some might say. Emma pushed open the back door, and the cold October air hit her face like a wake-up call. She breathed it in deeply, enjoying the crispness after the warm, coffee-scented atmosphere inside. The alley was narrow, flanked by her cafe on one side and the back of Chen's laundromat, her uncle's business on the other. A single security light flickered above the dumpster, casting unreliable shadows that danced with each gust of wind. She was halfway to the dumpster when she heard it. The sound wasn't dramatic, not like in the movies. It was more like a series of sharp cracks echoing from somewhere deeper in the downtown area, maybe 3 or 4 blocks away. Pop, pop, pop. Emma froze, the trash bag hanging from her hand. Her heart rate accelerated as her brain processed what she'd heard. Fireworks? No. Wrong season? Car backfiring? Maybe. But something about the rhythm, the urgency of those sounds, made her stomach tighten with instinct. She stood there in the cold alley listening. The wind carried distant sounds. A car alarm starting up, someone shouting, the squeal of tires. Then silence again, except for her own breathing creating small clouds in the cold air. Don't be paranoid, she whispered to herself. This is Riverside Falls, not... A crash interrupted her thoughts. It came from the narrow passageway that connected her alley to Oak Street, the parallel road. Something, or someone, had knocked over the metal trash cans that Mr. Kowalski always left out back. Emma's training kicked in. The self-defense classes her mother had insisted she take before she was allowed to work closing shifts alone. Stay aware. Trust your instincts. Don't investigate suspicious sounds. She turned to head back inside, her hand already reaching for the door handle when she heard it. A low groan, distinctly human, distinctly in pain. Every rational part of Emma's brain screamed at her to go inside, lock the door, call 911, let the professionals handle it. But there was something else, that same instinct that had made her bring hot soup to Mrs. Patterson when she'd noticed the elderly woman had a cold, that had driven her to slip free coffee to the construction workers during the harsh winter months, that had compelled her to keep her mother's cafe alive when everyone said she should sell and move on. Compassion wasn't always logical. Emma set down the trash bag and pulled her phone from her back pocket, thumb hovering over the emergency call button. She moved slowly toward the passageway, her other hand fishing in her apron pocket for the small flashlight she always carried. "Hello?" she called out, her voice shakier than she'd intended. "Do you need help?" Another groan, closer now. Emma's flashlight beam cut through the darkness of the passageway, illuminating scattered trash cans, and her breath caught. A man was collapsed against the brick wall, half sitting, half sprawled on the cold concrete. He was dressed in dark clothing, black jeans, a dark jacket that looked expensive even in the dim light. His face was turned away from her, but she could see he was clutching his side, and even in the poor lighting she could tell something was very wrong. "Oh my God," Emma breathed, taking a step closer despite every survival instinct telling her to run. "Sir? Sir? Can you hear me?" The man's head turned slowly toward her voice. He looked to be in his late 30s with dark hair that was disheveled and falling into his eyes. His face was pale, too pale, and contorted with pain. When his eyes met hers, Emma saw something that made her freeze. They were remarkably clear, intensely focused despite his obvious distress, and filled with a desperation that transcended words. "Please," he managed, his voice rough and strained. "They're coming back." "Who? Who's coming back?" Emma asked, already pulling out her phone. "I'm calling for an ambulance." "No!" The man's hand shot out with surprising speed, grabbing her wrist. Not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to stop her. "No hospitals, no police. Please, they'll find me." Emma's mind raced. Every crime show she'd ever watched, every news story about strangers in danger flashed through her head. This was the moment where the smart person would pull away, would run, would prioritize their own safety. But she looked at his face, really looked, and saw something beyond the physical distress. Fear, yes, but also humanity, desperation, the look of someone who'd run out of options. "You're hurt," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "You need medical attention. I can't just—" The sound of footsteps interrupted her. Heavy boots on pavement coming from Oak Street. Multiple people, moving fast. Emma's heart lurched into her throat. "Hide me," the man whispered urgently, his grip on her wrist loosening. "Please, I'm begging you. Just for tonight. I'll leave tomorrow. I swear to you I'll leave. But if they find me now—" He didn't finish the sentence, but the terror in his eyes completed it for him. Emma's mind went blank with panic. The footsteps were getting closer. Voices now, men's voices speaking in low, urgent tones. They were searching, hunting. She had approximately 15 seconds to make a decision that would change everything. Later, Emma would try to understand what made her do it. Maybe it was the memory of her mother always saying, "We help people, Emma. That's what we do." Maybe it was the complete vulnerability in this stranger's eyes. Maybe it was just pure instinct overriding common sense. Or maybe, deep down, she was tired of her safe, predictable life. "Can you move?" she whispered urgently. The man nodded, and with visible effort began trying to get to his feet. Emma grabbed his arm, helping him up. He was tall, at least 6 feet, and solid, making it difficult for her 5'6" frame to support him. But adrenaline gave her strength she didn't know she had. "My cafe," she breathed. "Back door. Now." They stumbled together through the alley, the man trying to stifle his groans of pain. Emma could feel the dampness on his side where she was supporting him, could feel how he trembled with effort. The back door seemed miles away instead of just 20 feet. The voices were in the alley now. "Check everywhere. He's injured. He can't have gotten far." 10 feet. "What about that cafe?" 5 feet. Emma's hand found the door handle. She pushed it open, practically dragging the man inside. The warmth of the cafe enveloped them, and for a split second Emma felt the surreal juxtaposition of bringing this situation into her safe space. "Where can I—" the man started. "Shh." Emma pressed her finger to her lips, her mind working frantically. The cafe was small. There was nowhere to hide a full-grown man. The storage closet was too small. The bathroom had a window they might check. The kitchen was open plan. Her eyes landed on the space behind the counter, near the industrial refrigerator and below the prep counter. It was cramped, dark, and usually filled with boxes of supplies. She'd cleared most of it out earlier today. "There," she pointed. "Get under the counter, behind those boxes." Now, the man didn't argue. He moved with surprising speed given his condition, crawling into the space and curling up as much as his tall frame would allow. Emma grabbed a tablecloth from the storage shelf and threw it over him, then quickly stacked several boxes of coffee filters and paper cups in front of the space, creating a barrier. Knock, knock, knock. 3 sharp raps on the cafe's front door made Emma jump. Her heart was pounding so hard she was certain they could hear it from outside. She looked down at herself and felt her stomach drop. Her apron, the cream-colored apron her mother had designed, had a dark stain spreading across the front where she'd supported the man. She could see the dampness, the evidence of his injury marking the fabric. The knocking came again, more insistent this time. Emma's hands shook as she untied the apron. She balled it up quickly, shoving it into the small gap between the refrigerator and the wall, out of sight. Then she grabbed a clean apron from the hook, a spare, plain white one, and tied it around her waist. She ran her hands through her hair, took 3 deep breaths, and forced her face into what she hoped was a neutral expression. "Coming!" she called out, willing her voice not to shake. She walked to the front door, her legs feeling like they might give out at any moment. Through the glass she could see 3 men. They were dressed in casual clothing, jeans, jackets, but there was nothing casual about their demeanor. The one in front was broad-shouldered with a shaved head. The 2 behind him were younger, wired with aggressive energy. Emma unlocked the door but kept the security chain in place, opening it just enough to speak through the gap. "We're closed," she said, surprised by how steady her voice sounded. "We open again tomorrow at 6 a.m. "We're looking for someone," the bald man said. His voice was calm, almost pleasant, which somehow made it more menacing. A man, tall, dark hair, wearing a black jacket. "He's injured. Would have come through here in the last 10 minutes. "I haven't seen anyone," Emma said immediately. "I've been inside closing up, alone." The man's eyes scanned past her, trying to see into the cafe. "Mind if we look around? Just to be sure?" "Actually, I do mind," Emma said, channeling every ounce of her mother's no-nonsense attitude. "I don't know who you are, and I'm not letting strange men into my business this late at night. If you're looking for someone, call the police. That's what they're paid for." She started to close the door, but the man's hand shot out, stopping it. Emma's breath caught. This was it. They were going to force their way in, they were going to find him, and she was going to be— "Fair enough," the man said suddenly, removing his hand. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "But if you do see anyone at all matching that description, there's a reward for information. Significant money." He pulled out a business card and slipped it through the gap. "My number's on there, day or night." Emma took the card with fingers she hoped weren't visibly trembling. "Sure, if I see anything." The man nodded slowly, his eyes studying her face in a way that made her skin crawl. "What's your name, miss?" "Emma. Emma Chen. I own this cafe." "Well, Emma Chen," he said her name like he was memorizing it. "You have a good night. Stay safe out there. Dangerous people around these days." It wasn't a threat exactly, but it wasn't not a threat either. Emma watched as the 3 men walked away, disappearing around the corner onto Oak Street. She stood there for a full minute, her hand on the door, making sure they were really gone. Only when she was certain did she close the door, lock it, and flip the closed sign. Her legs finally gave out. She sank down onto the nearest chair, her whole body shaking with delayed shock. What had she just done? She'd lied to dangerous men. She'd hidden someone, a stranger, in her cafe. She'd potentially put herself in serious danger for someone she didn't even know. "Emma?" The voice made her jump. The man had emerged from behind the counter, using the wall for support. In the bright cafe lighting, she could see him properly for the first time. He was probably in his late 30s, with strong features and dark eyes that held an intelligence that seemed at odds with his current situation. His dark hair was streaked with gray at the temples. He had the kind of face that probably turned heads under normal circumstances, handsome in a lived-in, mature way, but right now he looked terrible. His face was gray with pain, his breathing shallow. The dark stain on his jacket had spread. "You need to sit down before you fall down," Emma said, standing up and moving toward him. The adrenaline was fading, replaced by a strange calm. She'd made her choice. Now she had to deal with the consequences. She guided him to the closest chair. He collapsed into it with a groan he couldn't suppress. "Thank you," he said, meeting her eyes. "Thank you. You have no idea." "You're right. I have no idea," Emma cut him off. "I have no idea what I just did. I have no idea who you are. I have no idea who those men were, or why they're looking for you, or—" She pressed her palms against her eyes, trying to think. Okay. First things first. You're injured. How badly?" "I'll be fine," he said automatically. "That's not what I asked." Emma's nursing instinct kicked in, limited though it was. She'd taken a basic first aid course when she opened the cafe. and she'd helped care for her mother during her final illness. She knew enough to know that whatever injury this man had sustained, "I'll be fine" was probably optimistic at best. "Let me see," she said firmly. He hesitated, then slowly unzipped his jacket. Underneath, his shirt, once white, now stained, was pressed against his left side. When he lifted it, Emma had to suppress a gasp. There was a wound on his side, just below his ribs. It wasn't huge, but it was deep and still seeping. Emma's stomach turned, but she forced herself to look objectively. "What happened?" she asked. "I was shot," he said simply. "The bullet went through. It missed anything vital, I think. But I've lost some blood. Shot." The word hung in the air between them. Those sounds she'd heard earlier, they hadn't been fireworks or a car backfiring. They'd been real. "I need to call an ambulance," Emma said. "You could have internal injuries. You need proper medical." "No hospitals," he said again, more firmly this time. "Emma, your name is Emma, right? I know how this sounds. I know you have no reason to trust me, but if you take me to a hospital, I'm as good as dead. Those men have connections everywhere. Police, hospitals, everywhere." "Then who are they?" Emma demanded. "Who are you? Give me one good reason why I shouldn't call 911 right now." The man was quiet for a moment, clearly wrestling with how much to tell her. Finally he spoke. "My name is Marcus Santoro. And those men, they work for people who want me silenced. Permanently." "Santoro," Emma repeated. The name tickled something in her memory. News reports maybe, but she couldn't place it. "Why did they want to silence you?" "Because I know things," Marcus said simply. "Things that could hurt powerful people. Things I'm trying to expose." It was vague, probably deliberately so, but there was something in his voice, a weariness, a resignation, that made Emma think he was telling the truth, or at least a version of it. "I can't keep you here," Emma said. "This is my business, my livelihood. If they find out I helped you—" "They won't," Marcus interrupted. "I'll leave, first thing tomorrow morning before you open. You'll never see me again. I just need somewhere safe for tonight. Somewhere to rest, to stop the bleeding, that's all I'm asking." Emma looked at him, really looked at him. He was in pain, obviously. Desperate, clearly. But there was something else in his eyes. Honor, maybe? Or maybe she was just seeing what she wanted to see. She thought about her mother who had taught her to help people. She thought about her quiet, predictable life. She thought about how sometimes, maybe, people needed to do the right thing even when it was terrifying. "I have a friend," Emma said slowly. "She's a nursing student. She might be able to help. But Marcus, if this goes wrong, if you're lying to me, if you're actually—" "I'm not," he said quietly. "I promise you. I'm not a good man, Emma. I've made mistakes, but I'm trying to fix them. I'm trying to do the right thing. That's why they're after me." Emma pulled out her phone and scrolled to her contacts. Jenna Park, her best friend since community college, currently in her final year of nursing school. The only person Emma trusted with something this big. The phone rang 3 times before Jenna's voice came through, groggy with sleep. "Emma, it's almost 11. "What's—" "Jenna, I need your help," Emma said, surprised by how calm she sounded. "And I need you not to ask questions. Not yet. Can you come to the cafe? Now? And bring your first aid kit?" There was a pause. Emma could practically hear Jenna's brain working, assessing the seriousness in her voice. "I'll be there in 15 minutes, Jenna said, fully awake now. Emma hung up and looked at Marcus. "My friend is coming. She can help with that injury. But then we need to figure out what to do with you." "Thank you," Marcus said again. He looked like he wanted to say more, but whatever it was got lost in a wave of pain that made him close his eyes and grip the chair. Emma moved to the sink and grabbed a clean towel, dampening it with warm water. She brought it back to Marcus and handed it to him. "Here, clean yourself up as much as you can, and drink this." She filled a glass with water from the filtered pitcher she kept for customers. Marcus took both gratefully. As he cleaned his face and drank, Emma found herself studying him. Who was he? Really? What had he done? What kind of trouble had she just invited into her life? The business card the bald man had given her was still clutched in her hand. She looked at it for the first time. No name. Just a phone number. Nothing else. She should throw it away. But instead, she found herself tucking it into her pocket. The next 15 minutes passed in tense silence. Emma busied herself with mindless tasks, wiping down already clean counters, reorganizing the sugar packets, anything to keep her hands occupied and her mind from spiraling into panic. Marcus sat in the chair, his eyes closed, his breathing shallow but steady. Finally, a knock came at the door. Emma recognized Jenna's distinctive rap, 2 quick taps followed by 3 slower ones. Relief flooded through her. She opened the door and Jenna Park burst in, her black hair pulled into a messy bun, wearing sweatpants and an oversized hoodie. She was carrying a large first aid kit that she'd borrowed from the nursing lab. "Okay, so what's the emergency?" Jenna stopped mid-sentence when she saw Marcus. Her eyes went wide. "Emma, what the hell?" "Jenna, this is Marcus." "Marcus, Jenna, he's hurt, and he needs help, and I promise I'll explain everything, but right now, is that a puncture wound?" Jenna was already moving toward Marcus, her training overriding her shock. "How did this happen?" "There was an incident," Marcus said carefully. "I need someone to check if there's any serious internal damage and to help stop the bleeding." Jenna looked at Emma. "You know this is crazy, right?" "I know," Emma said quietly. "Like, potentially illegal, definitely dangerous, absolutely insane crazy?" "I know." Jenna sighed deeply, setting down her first aid kit. "Okay, but after I do this, you're telling me everything. And I mean everything." As Jenna began examining Marcus's wound, Emma moved to the window and peeked through the blinds at the dark street outside. Everything looked normal, quiet. No mysterious men lurking in the shadows. But Emma knew that had changed. Something fundamental had shifted tonight. She'd made a choice, an impulsive, possibly reckless choice, that had pulled her out of her safe, predictable life and into something unknown. She retrieved her cream-colored apron from behind the refrigerator, looking at the dark stain. Evidence. Proof of what she'd done. She should wash it, should make the evidence disappear. But instead she found herself folding it carefully and putting it in her bag. A reminder. Of tonight. Of the moment her life changed. "Emma," Jenna's voice called her back. "I need your help over here." Emma turned away from the window and walked back to where Marcus sat. As she helped Jenna gather supplies, she caught Marcus watching her with those intense, clear eyes. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, so only she could hear. "I'm sorry for bringing this into your life." Emma didn't respond. She didn't know what to say. She'd acted on instinct tonight, on compassion, on some fundamental human need to help someone in pain. But as she looked at the injured stranger in her cafe, as she felt the weight of the business card in her pocket, as she sensed the beginning of something that would unravel everything she'd built, Emma Chen realized she wasn't sorry. Not yet, anyway. Outside, the October wind picked up, rattling the cafe windows and carrying with it the smell of coming winter. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed. And in a small cafe on Morrison Street, 3 people who were strangers just hours ago began forming a bond that would change all their lives forever. Emma Chen had covered a wounded man with her apron tonight. She had no way of knowing that by tomorrow morning, everything would be different. That whispers would start spreading through Riverside Falls like wildfire. That her name would be attached to danger, to mystery, to a world she never wanted to be part of. That people would start calling her the Mafia boss's girl. But for now, in this moment, there was only the quiet cafe, the uncertain future, and the choice she'd made. A choice she couldn't take back. Setting: Riverside Falls, upstate New York time. Wednesday morning through evening, October. Weather: overcast sky, temperature 45 degrees, hint of rain in the air. Emma hadn't slept. She sat at her small kitchen table in the apartment above the cafe, watching the pale gray light of dawn creep through her window. Her third cup of coffee had gone cold in her hands. Every sound from the street below made her heart race. A car door closing, footsteps on the sidewalk, the rumble of the early morning delivery truck passing by. Marcus was asleep on her couch, finally resting after Jenna had spent 2 hours treating his wound. The bullet had gone clean through, missing vital organs but causing significant tissue damage. Jenna had cleaned and bandaged it, given him antibiotics from her emergency kit, and left with a stern warning to Emma. "If his condition worsens, if there's any sign of infection, you call 911. "I don't care what he says, got it?" Emma had nodded, but both of them knew it was a promise she might not be able to keep. Now sitting in her quiet apartment as morning approached, Emma tried to process what she'd done. She'd hidden an injured man from dangerous people. She'd lied to their faces. She'd involved her best friend in something potentially criminal. And for what? For a stranger who claimed he was trying to expose corruption? Her phone buzzed on the table, making her jump. A text from her supplier. Running late. Delivery at 7 instead of 6:30. That okay? Emma texted back confirmation, her fingers trembling slightly. Normal messages. Normal business. Everything pretending to be normal when nothing was normal anymore. She glanced toward her living room where Marcus slept. In the morning light, he looked less dangerous and more human. His face was relaxed in sleep, the lines of pain smoothed away temporarily. Whatever he was running from, whatever trouble he'd brought to her doorstep, he was still just a person. Hurt, scared, desperate. You're awake. Emma startled. Marcus had opened his eyes and was watching her from the couch. How are you feeling? She asked, automatically slipping into caretaker mode. Better, he said, sitting up slowly and wincing. Your friend did good work. Thank her for me. She wants you to see a real doctor. I know. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. Emma, about last night. You said you'd leave this morning, Emma interrupted. Before I open. That was the deal. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Where would you like me to go? The question hung in the air. They both knew he had no safe place to go. If he did, he wouldn't have been bleeding in an alley last night. That's not my problem, Emma said, but her voice lacked conviction. You're right, it's not. Marcus stood carefully, testing his balance. I'll leave. I'll figure something out. And Emma, I meant what I said. You'll never see me again. Last night will be like it never happened. But they both knew that wasn't true. You couldn't unknow something. You couldn't undo a choice once it was made. Emma was about to respond when her phone rang. The cafe's landline, forwarded to her cell. She answered automatically. Emma's Cafe, this is Emma. Emma, oh thank God. It was Mrs. Patterson, her elderly regular. I just heard the most terrible rumor. Someone said there was trouble at the cafe last night. Men with weapons looking for someone. Tell me it's not true. Emma's blood ran cold. Mrs. Patterson, everything's fine. There was just... My neighbor said she saw 3 men banging on your door around 10. She was walking her dog. She said they looked dangerous, Emma. You need to be careful. This neighborhood isn't what it used to be. I appreciate your concern, but really everything is... I'm just worried about you, dear. Your mother would want someone looking out for you. Promise me you'll be careful. Emma promised, her mind racing. Mrs. Patterson's neighbor had seen, which meant other people probably saw too, which meant, after hanging up, Emma looked at Marcus. People saw those men at my cafe last night. I'm sorry, Marcus said quietly. I never wanted to drag you into this. Well, I'm in it now. Emma stood and began pacing. I need to open the cafe in less than 2 hours. I need to act like everything is normal. Can you stay quiet up here? Just for today, until I can figure out... Emma. Marcus's voice was firm. You need to understand something. Those men last night, they're not going to stop looking for me. And now they know about you. About this place. Every moment I'm here, I'm putting you in danger. Then tell me the truth, Emma demanded. All of it. Who are you really? What did you do? Why are they after you? Marcus sat back down heavily on the couch. He was quiet for a long moment, clearly debating how much to reveal. My full name is Marcus Santoro, he began. I grew up in this area. My father was connected to, let's call them influential people. People who operated outside the law. I was brought into that world young. Too young. For years I did things I'm not proud of. Facilitated transactions, kept records, helped maintain relationships between various parties. You're talking about organized corruption, Emma said. Illegal activities. Yes, Marcus met her eyes. But I was never the one making the big decisions. I was a facilitator, a record keeper, which means I saw everything. I knew where all the bodies were buried, metaphorically speaking. Emma wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold, despite the warm apartment. 2 years ago, my younger sister, Elena, got caught in the crossfire of all this. She was innocent, completely uninvolved, but she witnessed something she shouldn't have. She tried to go to the authorities. Marcus's voice cracked slightly. They got to her before she could testify. She died in what was ruled an accident. Marcus, I'm sorry. That's when I decided I was done, he continued. I started copying files, gathering evidence. Everything I could find about corruption, payoffs, illegal activities involving public officials. I've been trying to get it to the right people, people who can't be bought. But the network runs deep. Very deep. That's why I was being chased last night. Someone found out what I had. Emma processed this information, her journalist instincts from her college days kicking in. So you have evidence, documentation? Marcus nodded. Digital files, encrypted, backed up in multiple secure locations. Names, dates, transactions, years' worth of material. It could bring down dozens of people, some of them very powerful. And those men think if they stop you, they stop the information from getting out? I'm the only one who knows all the password keys. Without me, the files are inaccessible. At least that's what they think. Emma walked to her window and looked down at Morrison Street. Her street, her neighborhood, her normal, safe life that suddenly felt very far away. You need to go to the FBI, she said. Federal prosecutors. Someone beyond local. I had a contact, Marcus interrupted. A federal agent I trusted. I was supposed to meet him yesterday, but when I got to the meeting location, it was a setup. Someone had gotten to him, either bought him off or compromised him somehow. I barely got away. Emma turned to face him. So what's your plan now? I don't have one, Marcus admitted. Not yet. I need time to think, to figure out who I can trust. But that time needs to be somewhere far from here, far from you. Before Emma could respond, her phone buzzed again. This time a text from Roberto, who ran the grocery 2 blocks over. Hey Emma, heard some guys were asking about you this morning, wanting to know your schedule, where you live. Didn't tell them anything. Thought you should know. Emma's hands went numb. She showed the text to Marcus. They're mapping your life, he said grimly. Learning your patterns. It's what I would do. What I would do? Emma repeated. You mean what you did do, when you were one of them? Yes. Marcus didn't flinch from the accusation. I know how they think, which is why I know I need to leave. Now. But before either of them could move, Emma's phone rang again. This time it was her Uncle Chen, who owned the laundromat next door. Emma, closed the cafe today, he said without preamble. Don't open. Uncle Chen, what? I heard things this morning. Bad things. Your name is being mentioned. Connected to the Santoro family. People are saying you're involved with them now. Emma felt like she'd been punched. The Santoro family. She looked at Marcus, who had gone very still. Uncle, I don't know what you heard, but I'm not involved in anything. There's been a misunderstanding. Emma, in this neighborhood, misunderstandings can get people hurt. Your mother, God rest her soul, she taught you better than to get mixed up with those kinds of people. Close the cafe, lay low, let this blow over. I can't just close the cafe. I have bills, I have customers who depend on. I'm serious, Emma. For once, listen to your uncle. Stay closed today. Maybe tomorrow, too. He hung up before she could argue further. Emma slowly lowered the phone, her mind reeling. Santoro family, she repeated. People think I'm connected to the Santoro family. Because of you. Because I helped you. I'm sorry, Marcus said, and the genuine regret in his voice was almost worse than if he'd been defensive. I told you my father was connected. The Santoro name carries weight in this area. Not in a good way. So now everyone thinks I'm what? Dating you? Working for you? Part of whatever criminal organization? They think you're under my protection, Marcus said quietly. That's what hiding me would signal. In that world, if you shelter someone, you're claiming alliance with them. It's a message. Emma laughed, but there was no humor in it. A message? Great. So I tried to help someone, and now the entire neighborhood thinks I'm a criminal. Not a criminal, Marcus corrected gently, but associated with people who are, which in some ways is worse. It makes you untouchable to normal society, but visible to dangerous people. Emma sank into a chair, overwhelmed. 24 hours ago, her biggest problem was whether to add a new breakfast sandwich to the menu. Now she was apparently the Mafia boss's girl, a phrase she'd heard in movies but never imagined would apply to her. I need to fix this, she said. I need to tell people the truth, that I just helped an injured person, that I'm not involved in anything illegal. You could try, Marcus said, but in my experience, once a reputation takes root, it's almost impossible to uproot, especially in tight-knit communities like this. People believe what makes sense to them, and you hiding me, lying to dangerous men looking for me, that makes sense as the act of someone connected to my world. Emma wanted to argue, but deep down, she knew he was right. She'd lived in Riverside Falls her whole life. She knew how quickly gossip spread, how reputations could be built or destroyed in a matter of hours. You should leave, she said quietly. Right now. Maybe if you're gone, if people see there's nothing between us, this will all fade away. Marcus nodded and stood, moving slowly because of his injury. I'll need to call someone, try to arrange transportation out of the area. But Emma, I want you to know that I will do everything I can to make sure you're not connected to whatever happens next. I'll make it clear you're not involved. How? By telling the people hunting you that I'm innocent? I'm sure they'll just take your word for it. The sarcasm in her voice was sharp, but Marcus didn't react offensively. He simply said, "I'll find a way. I promise." Emma wanted to believe him, but promises from a man she'd known less than 12 hours felt meaningless. She was about to tell him to use her phone when there was a knock on her apartment door. A firm, official knock that made them both freeze. "Emma Chen? This is Detective Kowalski with Riverside Falls Police. I need to speak with you." Emma and Marcus locked eyes. She could see him calculating options, looking toward the fire escape, the bathroom window, anywhere he might hide or escape. "Don't," she whispered. "Running will just make everything worse. Opening that door could get you charged as an accessory. I'm already involved, you said so yourself. At least this way maybe I can control the narrative." Before Marcus could argue, Emma walked to the door. She took a deep breath, straightened her shoulders, and opened it with the chain still in place. A man in his mid-40s stood in the hallway. He was wearing a rumpled suit and had the tired eyes of someone who'd seen too much. His badge was clipped to his belt. "Ms. Chen?" His voice was gruff but not unkind. "I'm Detective Ray Kowalski. I need to ask you some questions about an incident last night." "What kind of incident?" Emma asked, keeping her voice steady. "Can I come in? This would be better discussed privately." Emma hesitated, then unlatched the chain and opened the door wider. Detective Kowalski stepped inside, his eyes immediately finding Marcus standing in the living room. "Marcus Santoro," Kowalski said, but his tone wasn't surprised. "I had a feeling you'd be here." "Detective," Marcus acknowledged with a slight nod. Kowalski turned to Emma. "Miss Chen, I need you to understand something. You're not in trouble. Not yet. But you've gotten yourself tangled up in a very complicated situation, and I'm here to help you untangle it, if you'll let me." "I don't understand," Emma said, though that was becoming her default statement for the past 12 hours. "Marcus Santoro is a person of interest in an ongoing investigation," Kowalski explained. "Not as a suspect exactly, but as someone with information relevant to several cases involving public corruption. There are people who want to silence him, dangerous people, and now because you helped him last night, you're on their radar." "How do you know I helped him?" Emma asked. "Because 3 men matching the description of known associates of a certain organization were seen at your cafe last night, because your neighbors reported suspicious activity, and because I've been following Marcus's movements for the past 2 weeks, trying to keep him alive long enough to get his information into the right hands." Kowalski's gaze was steady. "I lost him yesterday afternoon. When I heard about the incident at your cafe, I put 2 and 2 together." Emma felt like the floor was tilting beneath her. "You're investigating him?" "I'm trying to protect him," Kowalski corrected. "There's a difference. Marcus has information that could help us take down a corruption network that's been poisoning this city for decades. But he's been reluctant to come in officially because he doesn't know who he can trust. And honestly, given the circumstances, I don't blame him." Marcus had been silent during this exchange, watching the detective carefully. Now he spoke. "Why should we trust you, Kowalski?" "You probably shouldn't," Kowalski said honestly. "Trust is earned and we just met, at least officially. But I'll tell you what I can offer. Protection. Not witness protection, not yet. That takes time and federal approval. But I can get you both to a safe location while we sort this out. Because right now, Ms. Chen, you're in danger too." "I didn't do anything wrong," Emma protested. "I just helped someone who was injured." "You lied to potentially dangerous individuals who were looking for a fugitive," Kowalski said bluntly. "From their perspective, that makes you complicit. From the law's perspective, it makes you a witness. From my perspective, it makes you someone who needs protection before this situation escalates." Emma wanted to argue, but the events of the past 12 hours crashed over her like a wave. The fear in Marcus's eyes last night, the phone calls this morning, her uncle's warning, the whispers starting to circulate. "What do you want from us?" she asked quietly. "I want Marcus to officially give me his evidence. I want both of you to come to the station where I can ensure your safety while we build our case. And I want to do this before the people looking for Marcus decide that you, Ms. Chen, are leverage they can use against him." "Leverage?" Emma's voice came out smaller than she intended. Kowalski's expression was sympathetic but firm. "You helped him. That makes you important to him. And anything important to someone they want to silence becomes a potential tool. Do you understand what I'm saying?" Emma understood. She'd become a liability, a target, all because she'd followed her instinct to help someone in pain. "I need to think," she said. "This is all happening so fast. I understand, Kowalski said. But think quickly. Every hour that passes, more people learn about your connection to Marcus. More whispers spread. More potential threats become aware of your existence. I can't protect you if you're out in the open, running a cafe, living your normal life. Not when the people looking for Marcus are the kind who don't hesitate to apply pressure in creative ways. He pulled out a card and handed it to Emma. Unlike the blank card the bald man had given her last night, this one had a name, a badge number, and an office number. My direct line is on there. It's answered 24/7. If anything, and I mean anything, makes you uncomfortable or scared, you call me immediately. Don't try to handle it yourself. Don't think you can tough it out. These people are professionals at intimidation. Emma took the card with numb fingers. Kowalski turned to Marcus. I meant what I said. I'm trying to help. I've been building a corruption case for 3 years, but I don't have the kind of concrete evidence you have. Together, we could actually make a difference. Actually change things. Isn't that what you wanted when you started collecting that information? Marcus's jaw tightened. I wanted justice for my sister. Then let me help you get it. The right way. Through the system. The system is part of the problem. Marcus shot back. How do I know you're not part of that corruption too? You don't, Kowalski admitted. But you're running out of options, and Ms. Chen is running out of time. Make the smart choice here. The detective moved toward the door, then paused. I'm giving you both 24 hours to think it over. After that, the situation becomes a lot more complicated. The whispers will get louder, the pressure will increase, and my ability to help will diminish. He looked directly at Emma. Close your cafe today. Stay inside. Don't talk to anyone you don't absolutely trust. And seriously consider my offer. After Kowalski left, Emma and Marcus stood in silence for a long moment. Do you trust him? Emma finally asked. I don't trust anyone, Marcus said. But he's right about one thing. You're in danger now because of me. Real danger. Emma walked to her window and looked down at Morrison Street. Life was continuing down there. People walking to work, the bakery opening, Mr. Rodriguez setting up his newsstand. Normal life, the life she'd had yesterday. Her phone buzzed. Another text. This time from someone she didn't recognize. You should be more careful about the company you keep. Riverside Falls is a small town. Emma showed it to Marcus, her hand shaking. It's starting, he said quietly. The pressure, the intimidation. They're letting you know they're watching. I need to open my cafe, Emma said. But even as she said it, she knew it was absurd. I have bills. I have employees. Well, part-time staff. I have responsibilities. You have a target on your back, Marcus corrected gently. Emma, I know this isn't fair. I know you were just trying to help. But fairness doesn't matter to the people looking for me. Results matter. And right now they see you as either a weakness they can exploit or an obstacle they need to remove. Emma felt tears of frustration building but refused to let them fall. She wasn't going to cry. She wasn't going to fall apart. She was Emma Chen. She'd survived losing her mother. She'd kept her cafe running through a recession. She'd built a life here. She wouldn't let it all crumble because of one impulsive decision. But even as she told herself this, she knew everything had already changed. Her phone rang. Jenna. Emma, what the hell is going on? Her friend's voice was urgent. I'm getting texts from people asking if you're okay, if you're in trouble, if you're mixed up with... They're using words like mob and mafia, Emma. What did that guy get you into? Jenna, I can't explain right now. Is he still there? Emma, you need to get away from him. Whatever he told you, whatever sob story he gave you, it's not worth your life. It's not like that. Then what is it like? Because from where I'm standing, you helped a stranger, and now your name is being dragged through the mud. People are scared to be associated with you. Do you understand how serious this is? Emma did understand. That was the worst part. She understood perfectly. After promising Jenna she'd be careful, Emma hung up and found Marcus packing the few belongings he had. Just his jacket and wallet. I'm leaving, he announced. Right now, before this gets any worse for you. Where will you go? I don't know. But anywhere is better than here, putting you at risk. They already know about me, Emma pointed out. Leaving now won't change that. It might. If I'm gone. If there's no reason for them to think you're protecting me, maybe they'll leave you alone. Maybe Kowalski can help clear your name. Emma wanted to believe that, but she'd lived in tight-knit communities long enough to know how these things worked. Once a reputation was damaged, once whispers started, they took on a life of their own. The Mafia boss's girl. she said quietly. That's what people are calling me. I heard it from 3 different people this morning. Do you know how insane that sounds? I'm a cafe owner. I spend my days making lattes and chatting with regulars about their grandkids, and now I'm the Mafia boss's girl. I'm not a Mafia boss, Marcus said. For what it's worth, I was never that high up. I was just someone who knew where the bodies were buried. He stopped, realizing his word choice. Metaphorically, I knew things, that's all. That's all, Emma repeated. That's enough to destroy my life, apparently. She walked to her small bathroom and splashed cold water on her face. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. The woman staring back at her looked tired, scared, lost. 24 hours ago, she'd been planning to add pumpkin spice muffins to her autumn menu. Now she was deciding whether to trust a detective she'd just met or continue harboring a man who'd brought danger to her doorstep. When she emerged from the bathroom, Marcus was standing by her front door. Thank you, he said, for last night, for giving me a chance when you had no reason to. You're a good person, Emma Chen, better than most people I've met. I'm sorry I brought this darkness into your light. There was something final in his tone that made Emma's decision for her. Wait, she said. Marcus paused. If you leave now, they'll still think we're connected. They'll still see me as leverage or a threat. But if we go to Detective Kowalski together, if we do this the right way, maybe we can actually fix this. Maybe we can turn the situation into something meaningful. You want to get involved? Really involved? I'm already involved, Emma said. You said so yourself. So did Kowalski. So did every person who texted or called me this morning. The only choice I have now is whether I'm passively involved, a victim waiting for something bad to happen, or actively involved, trying to solve this problem. Marcus studied her face. You sure? No, Emma admitted. I'm not sure about anything right now. But I do know that running and hiding hasn't worked for you so far, and it's not in my nature to hide. My mother always said, face your problems head on. At least then you can see them coming. For the first time since she'd met him, Marcus smiled. It was a small smile, tired and pained, but genuine. Your mother sounds like she was a wise woman. She was, Emma said, and she'd probably think I'm insane for what I'm about to do, but she'd also understand why I'm doing it. Emma pulled out Detective Kowalski's card and stared at it for a long moment. Then she dialed the number. He answered on the second ring. Kowalski. Detective, this is Emma Chen. I've thought about your offer. And? Emma looked at Marcus, who nodded slightly. We're in, she said. Tell us what we need to do. Smart choice, Kowalski said, and Emma could hear the relief in his voice. Stay where you are. Don't open your cafe, don't talk to anyone. I'll send a car for you in 2 hours. Plain clothes, unmarked vehicle. Pack a bag, enough for a few days. Once you're in protective custody, we'll sort everything out. Protective custody, Emma repeated. The words felt surreal. It's temporary, Kowalski assured her. Just until we can assess the threat level and figure out our next steps. Trust me, Ms. Chen. This is the safest option for everyone involved. After hanging up, Emma began moving automatically, packing clothes, toiletries, her laptop. Marcus did the same with the few items he had. They moved around each other in her small apartment like dancers who'd practiced this routine, though they'd never done anything like it before. Emma, Marcus said as she was zipping up her bag. For what it's worth, I meant what I told Detective Kowalski. I do want justice. For my sister, for everyone who's been hurt by this corruption. I'm not a good man, but I'm trying to be a better one. That has to count for something. It does, Emma said. And for what it's worth, I don't think you're as bad as you think you are. Bad people don't try to expose corruption. They benefit from it. Sometimes people try to atone for their past by doing good in their present. Well, you're doing good now. That's what matters. They sat together in her living room, waiting for the car that would take them to whatever came next. Outside, life in Riverside Falls continued. People walked past her building unaware that the young woman who made their morning coffee was about to disappear into protective custody, unaware that everything was about to change. Emma's phone buzzed one more time. Another unknown number. Interesting choices you're making. Hope you know what you're getting into. She showed it to Marcus, who frowned. They're watching, he said. They know something's happening. How? They always know. They have eyes everywhere. Emma walked to her window and looked down at the street. For a moment she saw nothing unusual. Then her eyes caught it. A black SUV parked across the street, engine running. Someone was sitting in the driver's seat. And though she couldn't see their face clearly, she could feel their attention focused on her building. Marcus, she said quietly, There's someone watching. He came to stand beside her, looked down, and swore softly. How long have they been there? He asked. I don't know. I just noticed them. Marcus pulled out his phone and called Kowalski. Detective, we have a situation. There's surveillance on Emma's building. Black SUV, across the street. Emma could hear Kowalski's voice, sharp and urgent, through the phone. We're coming now, Kowalski said. Don't leave the apartment. Don't let anyone in except me. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes felt like hours. Emma and Marcus stayed away from the windows, watching the clock, jumping at every sound in the hallway. Emma's mind raced with possibilities. What if someone tried to force their way in? What if there were more people than just the one in the SUV? What if... A knock at the door. Emma Chen? Detective Kowalski. Emma looked through the peephole and saw Kowalski with another plainclothes officer. She opened the door, and they quickly entered. There's a car waiting in the back alley, Kowalski said. We're going out the rear exit. Grab your bags. Stay close to me. They moved quickly through the building's back stairs, emerging into the same alley where Emma had found Marcus just 24 hours ago. An unmarked sedan was waiting, engine running. Another officer was at the wheel. Get in, Kowalski urged. Keep your heads down. As they pulled away from Emma's building, she turned to look back one last time. The black SUV was still parked across the street, and as they drove past, she saw the driver reach for their phone. They were making a call, reporting that Emma Chen and Marcus Santoro had just left together, under police protection. The whispers would only get louder now. The reputation she'd inadvertently built would only grow more concrete. But as Riverside Falls disappeared in the rearview mirror, Emma realized something. She wasn't scared anymore. She was angry. Angry at the people who'd forced Marcus into hiding. Angry at the corruption that had taken his sister's life. Angry at a system that allowed powerful people to operate with impunity, while ordinary citizens lived in fear. She'd covered a wounded man with her apron yesterday, acting on pure instinct and compassion. Today, she was making a different choice. A deliberate one. She was going to help Marcus expose the truth, whatever it took, whatever the cost. Because Emma Chen might be the Mafia boss's girl in the eyes of Riverside Falls now, but she knew who she really was. Someone who didn't back down when things got hard. Someone who finished what she started. Someone who'd just declared war on corruption, even if she didn't fully realize it yet. The car drove on through the gray October morning, carrying them toward an uncertain future. Behind them, in a black SUV on Morrison Street, someone made another call. And in offices throughout Riverside Falls, in places of power and influence, people began to take notice of Emma Chen, the girl who dared to help Marcus Santoro, the girl who just made herself very, very interesting. Setting, safe house location, outskirts of Riverside Falls time, Wednesday evening through Thursday, October. Weather, rain beginning, temperature dropping to 38 degrees. The safe house wasn't what Emma had imagined. She'd pictured something from the movies. Stark walls, minimal furniture, guards at every door. Instead, Detective Kowalski had brought them to what looked like an ordinary two-bedroom ranch house in a quiet suburban neighborhood 30 minutes from Riverside Falls. It's deliberately unremarkable, Kowalski explained as he showed them inside. The best hiding places are the ones nobody thinks to look at twice. Emma set her bag down in the modest living room, taking in the generic furniture and outdated wallpaper. Through the window, she could see neighbors mowing lawns, children riding bikes. Normal life, continuing as if her world hadn't just turned upside down. There's food in the kitchen, Kowalski continued. Officer Martinez will be stationed outside, rotating shifts with Officer Chen. No relation, he added, glancing at Emma. You're safe here, but you need to stay inside. No phone calls except to me. No social media. No contact with anyone from your regular life. For how long? Emma asked. A few days, maybe a week. It depends on how quickly we can move on Marcus's information and how the situation develops. Kowalski turned to Marcus. I need you to walk me through everything you have. Names, dates, documentation, the works. Marcus nodded slowly. I'll need a secure computer. The files are encrypted across multiple cloud servers. It'll take time to access everything. We have a secure laptop. I'll bring it tomorrow morning. Kowalski checked his watch. It's almost 6. Try to get some rest. Both of you have been through a lot in the past 24 hours. After Kowalski left, Emma and Marcus stood in the quiet house, the weight of their situation settling over them like a heavy blanket. You should take the main bedroom, Marcus said. I'll sleep on the couch. You're still injured, Emma protested. You need the bed more than I do. Emma, you've already given up enough for me. Your home, your business, your normal life. The least I can do is sleep on a couch. They compromised. Marcus took the smaller bedroom, Emma took the main one, but sleep didn't come easily for either of them. Emma lay in the unfamiliar bed, listening to rain begin pattering against the windows. She thought about her cafe, sitting dark and empty on Morrison Street. She thought about her regulars, Mrs. Patterson, the construction workers, the college students who studied at her corner table. What were they thinking right now? What stories were circulating about her disappearance? She pulled out her phone, tempted to check social media to see what people were saying, but Kowalski's warning echoed in her mind. No contact, for her own safety. A soft knock on her door made her sit up. Emma, you awake? Come in. Marcus opened the door, backlit by the hallway light. I couldn't sleep. Thought maybe you couldn't either. You thought right. He sat in the chair by the window, careful with his injured side. For a moment they just sat in comfortable silence, listening to the rain. Tell me about your sister, Emma said quietly. Elena. Marcus was quiet for so long that Emma thought he might not answer. Then he began speaking, his voice soft in the darkness. Elena was 7 years younger than me. She was the good one in our family, the one who stayed away from the business, who went to college, who wanted to be a teacher. She was brilliant, funny, kind to everyone. His voice caught slightly. Everything I should have been, but wasn't. What happened to her? She was meeting me for dinner one night 2 years ago. She arrived early and saw something she shouldn't have. A transaction between a city official and someone from the organization. Just wrong place, wrong time. But they couldn't risk her talking. Marcus's hands clenched. They made it look like a car accident. Brake failure on a steep hill. The investigation ruled it mechanical failure. Case closed. But you knew better. I knew the truth. I'd seen them arrange similar accidents before. I'd kept the records of the bribes paid to ensure no real investigation happened. He looked at Emma. That's when I realized I couldn't keep pretending I was just a neutral record keeper. Every file I maintained, every transaction I facilitated contributed to a system that took my sister's life. Her blood was on my hands too. Emma moved to sit on the edge of the bed, closer to him. What you're doing now, exposing all of this, that honors her memory. Does it? Or am I just trying to absolve my guilt by destroying the people I used to work with? Can't it be both? Emma asked. You can want justice for Elena, and also want to make things right. Those aren't mutually exclusive. Marcus looked at her with something like wonder. How are you so calm about all this? Most people would be furious with me for dragging them into danger. Oh, I'm furious, Emma said. But not at you. I'm angry at the situation, at the people who hurt your sister, at the corruption that made you feel like you had to hide, at a system that makes ordinary people afraid to do the right thing. She paused. My mother used to say that anger is only useful if you channel it into action. So that's what I'm doing. Your mother sounds like she was an amazing woman. She was. Emma smiled sadly. She died 3 years ago. Sudden illness. I was 22, just out of college, and suddenly I was running a cafe I had no idea how to manage. But she taught me to face challenges head on, to help people when I could, to never back down from something just because it was hard. That's why I helped you. And that's why I'm still here. Marcus reached out and took her hand. It was a simple gesture, but it felt significant in the quiet darkness. Thank you, Emma, for everything. They sat like that for a while, hands clasped, two people who'd been strangers 48 hours ago, but who now shared a bond forged in crisis and trust. Morning brought new complications. Detective Kowalski arrived at 8 with the secure laptop and troubling news. There was a fire at your cafe last night, Emma. Emma's heart stopped. What? Electrical fire, according to the initial report. Started around midnight in the kitchen. The building sustained significant damage. Fire department got it under control, but he hesitated. It's going to need major repairs before you can reopen. Emma sank into a chair, feeling like she'd been punched. Electrical fire. Right. How convenient. We're investigating, Kowalski said. But I'll be honest. These things are hard to prove. If someone wanted to send you a message, make you understand the cost of helping Marcus, this would be an effective way to do it. My mother's cafe, Emma whispered. The place we built together. Gone. Marcus looked stricken. Emma, I'm so sorry. This is my fault. Everything you've lost is because of me. No, Emma said firmly, fighting back tears. It's because of the people hunting you. There's a difference. Don't take responsibility for their choices. Kowalski set up the laptop on the dining table. Marcus, I need you to start walking me through your documentation. Every name, every transaction. We're going to build an airtight case. As Marcus began explaining his filing system, Emma excused herself and went to the bedroom. She sat on the edge of the bed and let herself cry. For her cafe, for her mother's memory, for the life that had been taken from her in just 2 days. But she only allowed herself 10 minutes. Then she washed her face, straightened her shoulders, and returned to the dining room. What can I do? She asked Kowalski. How can I help? The detective looked at her with respect. You're sure? After what just happened? I'm sure. They burned down my cafe. They destroyed something precious to me. Now I'm even more committed to seeing this through. Kowalski nodded. Actually, there is something. Marcus has mentioned several people in his files. Business owners, community leaders who were forced to cooperate with the organization. Many of them are victims too, but they're too afraid to come forward. You know this community, Emma. You might be able to reach them in ways I can't. You want me to convince them to testify? Not yet. First, I just need to verify Marcus's information. If you could identify these people, confirm their businesses, maybe even provide context about their situations, it would help enormously. Emma moved to look at the laptop screen. Names and addresses filled the document. Some she recognized immediately. Roberto Gonzalez. He runs the grocery on 5th Street. Good man, family business going back generations. She pointed to another name. Sarah Kim. She owns the dry cleaning place near my cafe. Always seemed worried about something. As Emma went through the list, a picture emerged. Dozens of small business owners all caught in a web of extortion and manipulation, all too afraid to speak out. These are good people, Emma said. They're not criminals. They're victims. Exactly, Kowalski agreed. And with your help, maybe we can give them a way out. Over the next few hours, Emma and Marcus worked together, cross-referencing his files with her knowledge of the community. Emma provided context and personal observations that transformed dry documentation into human stories. Marcus explained the mechanics of the corruption, how pressure was applied, how silence was maintained, how the system perpetuated itself. They broke for lunch, and Emma found herself in the kitchen with Marcus, making sandwiches like they were old friends instead of people thrust together by circumstance. You're good at this, Marcus observed. The investigation work. You see connections quickly. I wanted to be a journalist once, Emma admitted. Before my mother got sick and I had to take over the cafe. I guess some of that training stuck with me. It's not too late, you know. After this is over, you could go back to that path. Emma was quiet, spreading mustard on bread. After this is over, I'm not sure what my life will look like. My cafe is gone. My reputation in Riverside Falls is destroyed. Maybe starting over somewhere else wouldn't be the worst thing. You'd leave? Leave the community you love? I don't know if that community wants me anymore, Emma said softly. I'm the Mafia boss's girl, remember? Some bridges can't be uncrossed. Marcus set down his sandwich, his expression pained. I hate that I did this to you. You didn't do anything. We both made choices. I chose to help you. I'm still choosing to help you. That's on me, not you. Before Marcus could respond, Kowalski's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his expression darkened. When? Are you sure? He was quiet for a moment. Understood. Yes, they're both here. I'll tell them. He hung up and looked at Emma and Marcus with grave concern. That federal contact you mentioned, Marcus. Agent Wilson, his body was found this morning. Marcus went pale. What happened? Officially, it looks like he took his own life, but the timing is suspicious. Very suspicious. Kowalski rubbed his face. This changes things. If they got to Wilson, if they compromised or eliminated our federal connection, we're going to need a different approach. What kind of approach? Emma asked. A public one. We can't work through official channels if those channels are compromised, but we can go public, release the information to journalists, create enough pressure that the investigation can't be buried. Marcus shook his head. That puts everyone at risk. Emma especially. Once we go public, there's no taking it back. She'll be a known associate, a target. I'm already a target, Emma pointed out. They burned down my cafe, remember? At this point, hiding doesn't keep me safer. It just keeps me powerless. Kowalski looked between them. This is a decision you both need to make together. Going public is risky, but so is trying to work through compromised official channels. I can protect you either way, but I need to know what path you want to take. Emma looked at Marcus. In his eyes she saw fear, not for himself but for her. She saw guilt and determination and something else, something she couldn't quite name. "What do you want to do?" she asked him. "I want to keep you safe," he said quietly. "That's all I want now." "Then let's finish this," Emma said. "Let's expose everything. Bring it all into the light. That's the only way any of us will truly be safe." Marcus held her gaze for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay, we go public." Together. Outside, rain continued falling on the safe house, and somewhere in Riverside Falls, in offices and dark rooms, people were making their own plans. The storm was just beginning. Setting. 3 months later, Riverside Falls time, late January. Weather, cold winter morning, 28°, clear skies. The press conference happened on a Tuesday morning. Emma stood beside Detective Kowalski in the Riverside Falls Municipal Building, facing dozens of reporters and cameras. Marcus was there too, flanked by federal prosecutors who'd taken over the case after local corruption had been exposed. "Today we're announcing indictments against 17 individuals," the lead prosecutor announced, "including city officials, business leaders, and others involved in a systematic corruption network that operated in this region for over 15 years. Emma's testimony had been crucial. Her knowledge of the community, combined with Marcus's documentation, had created an undeniable case. One by one, the people who'd terrorized her neighborhood had been arrested. The questions came rapid fire. Emma answered what she could, staying calm despite the cameras. She explained how she'd simply helped an injured person, never imagining where it would lead. She talked about her cafe, about her community, about wanting justice for people like Elena Santoro. When it was over, Marcus found her in the hallway. "You were amazing," he said. "We were amazing," Emma corrected. "We did this together. What will you do now?" Emma smiled. "Rebuild. The insurance came through. I'm reopening the cafe next month. New kitchen, new equipment. Fresh start. And your reputation?" "Funny thing about that," Emma said. "Turns out exposing corruption makes you less Mafia boss's girl and more local hero." "Who knew?" Marcus laughed. The first genuine laugh she'd heard from him. "I'm entering witness protection next week. New name, new city, clean slate." "I'm glad," Emma said, meaning it. "You deserve peace." They stood together awkwardly, two people who'd shared something intense but brief. "Thank you, Emma Chen," Marcus said, "for everything, for your courage. Thank you for trusting me." He left then, walking toward his new life. Emma watched him go, then turned toward her own future. 3 weeks later, Emma's cafe reopened. The line stretched around the block. Mrs. Patterson was first through the door. "Welcome back, dear," she said. "We missed you." Emma tied on her new apron, cream-colored like the original, with her mother's logo redesigned. She was ready to serve coffee, to rebuild, to live. The girl who'd covered a wounded man with her apron had become someone stronger, someone who'd faced darkness and emerged with her integrity intact. Emma Chen was home.